Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. We're looking at Luke chapter 11, and we're in the passages where Jesus is rebuking and declaring judgment upon the Pharisees and the lawyers of his day. Jesus made it very clear there's no room for hypocrites in the church, no room for hypocrite, especially religious leaders who claim to be one thing and yet literally inside are something else. And so he's denouncing them right in their own house, right in their own territory. And he says, woe to you, Pharisees. We have 6 woes, 3 woes to the Pharisees and 3 woes to the lawyers, the scribes of his day, the experts of the law. And he says first, woe to you, Pharisees, for you tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs and pass by justice and the love of God. These you ought to have done without leaving the other undone. So they were very concerned about outwardly tithing everything, even to the little vegetables from the field. And yet at the same time, they really didn't love God. They really didn't love people. This people, Jesus said about them, this people honor me with their mouths and their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their hearts are full of bitterness and hatred and hypocrisy. And then he goes on in verse 43, woe to you, Pharisees, for you love the best seats in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplaces. And so they were full of pride, and that was their root problem, actually. And they sat at the best seats surrounding the pulpit, so to speak, and everybody knew they had those seats. Don't you get in their seats. And so they were full of pride. Jesus is pointing that out. And then even walking through the marketplaces, it was almost like required. You had to almost bow down to them and make sure you say hi to them and all that, because they declared who they were. And then verse 44, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you're like graves which are not seen, and the men who walk over them are not aware of them. And you know the Jewish people did not want to be defiled by a dead body, even in a grave that had been buried for hundreds of years. And so they made sure that they marked the graves well. And yet Jesus said, you are like unmarked graves. You think you're helping people by staying so clean, righteously on the outside, and yet what you're doing is defiling all the people around you with your hypocrisy. And so he has 3 woes on the Pharisees. We should take heed to those woes. And then one of the lawyers answered and said to him, Teacher, by saying these things, you reproach us also. So the experts at the law, the other group of religious leaders, they felt the sting of the Lord's rebuke, and they're saying, you're condemning us too. And so the Lord had 3 woes for them. Verse 46, and he said, woe to you, lawyers, for you load men with burdens hard to bear, and you yourselves do not touch the burdens with one of your fingers. They were the teachers of the law. They were the teachers of the word. But what they did, they added all kind of legalistic requirements upon top of people that burdened them down, and then they didn't do a thing to lift up the burdens, the real burdens of the people. Maybe that's why Jesus said, come unto me, all ye that are heavy laden and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Jesus is the one who takes and lifts the burdens of our hurt and our pain and our guilt off of us, our sin off of us. These people just made them worse, the lawyers. And then he said, so you see, he deals with the burdens that they put on people. Woe to you, for you build the tombs of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. And so he points that out. In fact, he says, Jesus said, you bear witness that you approve the deeds of your fathers, for they indeed killed them, and you build their tombs. Oh, Jesus really is nailing them here, because they're saying you're just like your fathers. They killed them, and then you turn around and you build elaborate tombs around these prophets and try to make it look like you're not guilty of it, and you're actually doing the same thing. Oh, my friend, Jesus had no room for religious hypocrisy. May there be no room for it in our hearts either, or in our lives. May God help us to be true to the Lord Jesus Christ and lift the burdens of others as we honor him. God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.